Dangin Nira. Dan am ufuldin uframevna. Spiretoina escepebove. Lesson 24. Telling Stories. The most fundamental way we pass down cultural values and traditions is through the telling of stories. Whether it's a morality tale or a fairy tale, a story both entertains and teaches. But in order to tell a story in Dangin Nira, we need to first cover the final two verb tenses. First is the imperfect, or past progressive. In English, it takes the form was doing, and the active tense marker in Dangin Nira is OLO. Let's take the verb spiretoi, to tell. Spiretolos, I was telling. Spiretolom, you were telling. Spiretolok, he, she, or it was telling. Spiretolosr, one was telling. This tense is used to describe an action in the past that either took place over a long period of time or was never finished. For example, defining ebova as story. Nen selfascudorsa spiretolok kiglovalos mergebove, elormpisreltetek voswe. The police officer was telling his girlfriend a story when he saw a ghost. The passive tense marker for the imperfect is OLOA. Let's take the verb loi, to lick. Loloas, I was being licked. Loloam, you were being licked. Loloak, he, she, or it was being licked. Loloazar, one was being licked. For example, Nen pahatin refla loloaktase artegmolok toranskin. The chocolate ice cream was being licked by me because it was delicious. Note how for a food that can be flavored, you treat the flavor as a material adjective. As another example, deliciosin pesla would be caramel-flavored milk. Now, this means that the milk has real caramel in it. If it was just made to taste like caramel with artificial flavorings, you'd have to call it deliciosunin pesla, or be sued for false advertising. Our final verb tense is the pluperfect, or past perfect. It is used to describe a past event that was completed before another past event, and in English, it takes the form had done. The active tense marker in Dangin Nira is elete. Let's take nageldoi, to blame for. Nageldeletes, I had blamed. Nageldeletem, you had blamed. Nageldeletek, he, she, or it had blamed. Nageldeleteser, one had blamed. Defining ihoimaloi as to be aware of, and daktoi as to break, Yama nageldeletek serglutame, nekor balsi ihoimaletek kit molok getsa, zovkin kersa, esta dakteletek kinobande. James blamed me for the mistake until he discovered that it was not me, but his brother who had broken his car. Note that with nageldoi, the person you're blaming takes the dative, and the thing they're being blamed for takes the accusative. And note that ihoimaloi is a verb that takes kit. The passive tense marker for the pluperfect is ALATRE. Let's take krifkoi, to bite. Krifkalatres, I had been bitten. Krifkalatrem, you had been bitten. Krifkalatrek, he, she, or it had been bitten. Krifkalatreser, one had been bitten. For example, defining faziroi as to believe. Sleletes siglupufenker kit largen krifkalatres tas bave, zovged faziratekse. I told my uncle that I had been bitten by a dog before, but he didn't believe me. Note here a difference between sloi and spiretoi. You use sloi to tell a quote or to paraphrase what was said. You use spiretoi to describe the format of what was being said, a story, a speech, a criminal testimony, etc. One quick thing. Oftentimes you want to say how many times an action takes place, twice, 3 times, 4 times, etc. In Dangin Nira, you do this using tas. Tas dan means twice, tasitar means thrice, etc. For example, O gaveletes nen ade tas les largen beetes merg. I had read the book 5 times before I gave it to you. If you want to know how many times an action took place, you simply ask, tas esir. Let's end with a story. You're not going to know every word, but that's okay. See if you can pick them out through context. The name of the story is Nenbruva ur Nenebmosa, the fox and the grapes. Molok Clara, Mepkulok Bruva. Zlatvolok Govudzava, Elorm Balsi Ichon Maletek Moslerte. Nenebmoso Kub Pisreltolok Toranskorg, or Nenbruva Lagvletek or Hastitolok Ekroyebke. Arteg deglorm ekreletek ebmose largen yeteminteka. Zof, elorm zeretek pazino nenebmose, ged winolok nargoyebke. Zeretek or misor zeretek. Zof, definor ged winolok pazino nenebmose. Kend gavgadloak or sletek, ebmoktis ganor geseptin. Urtalorm, mogiretek zlatvoy govudnen zava. Zvanoina. As you might have guessed, Molok Clara translates to once upon a time, and Zvanoina translates to the end. The rest of the new words will be listed at the end of the video. So, in summary, you've learned your final 2 verb tenses, the imperfect and the pluperfect, and you've learned the basics of storytelling in Dangin Nira. Make sure you know these words before you move on to the next video.